So the book I read this week was called Breath by James Norton. And the reason it was fascinating was because it's in line with the books that I really love to read, which definitely cover these kind of undiscovered or forgotten competencies that the human body is capable of. So I love reading about stuff like that. I love, like, Born to Run was one of them. Sapiens was one of them. Just about how our species has kind of adapted over the centuries and eons to do extraordinary things. Now, what it leads me to believe is that our bodies are adapted to do extraordinary things, but we've just either forgotten or we don't pay attention to our ability to develop these things. Now, I'm not saying that when I read a book that I can just understand and implement all these things. It takes practice. It takes years. That's why these crazy yogis can be buried in the snow for months at a time and just live in the cold. It's because they've conditioned their bodies through breath work and all this stuff. So I think it's just fascinating. And so I would highly recommend picking up this book called Breath. And the reason I like to talk about the books I read is not because I want to sound like I'm smart, but because by talking about them, I get to recap what they're all about. So this book was really all about how, in the beginning, I started doing the things that it talked about almost immediately. One of the big things that it talks about is breathing through your nose. So breathe through your nose because it turns out that as we evolved, our facial structures and our bone structures changed in a way that we started closing our sinuses, and we stopped using our noses to warm up air before it got into our body, and it affected our entire physiology. So I would definitely check this out. And so, like, what I learned was that if you breathe through your nose, then you get used to it, you start to get better, and you actually can cure snoring, and you can cure sleep apnea because you're kind of re-engaging all the muscles and all the passageways that we haven't used in a normal way by breathing through our mouths. So when people call us, like, mouth breathers, it's actually a really bad thing for us physiologically. So it's something to consider. But I've been practicing breathing through my nose, and it's been remarkably helpful already, including exercising. So I've been able to, this is how the VO2 max is calculated, but even just breathing through your nose just for a little bit, especially while you're exercising, is a great way to increase your tolerance and your endurance. So just overnight, it really helped me out. So just something to think about. Just check it out, Breath by James Newton or Joe Newton. I'll put it in the show notes. Or I'll put it in the box below. But super, super interesting book if you're into expanding your performance and kind of learning more about how your body worked before modern times and agriculture and all these other things kind of messed it up for us. But that's more on that later. But thanks for checking this out, and we'll see you next time.